Rick. Hey, how are you? Good. How are you? Good. Awesome. I am not here.
It wasn't that bad, just toys.
Good morning, Kayisa. Good morning. I can tell you have a lot to say to each other, but we are starting the service. Welcome to First Parish Brewster. We are a Unitarian Universalist welcoming congregation of people of diverse philosophies and beliefs, people of various cultures and races, sexual orientations, gender identities, abilities, and socioeconomic backgrounds. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your path, may this be a place of rest, connection, and inspiration on your journey. I'm Pat Stover, Worship Associate this morning, happy to be welcoming you to the service today with our interim minister, the Reverend Karen Anderson. Yay. Karen! We'll get used to this eventually. Karen Anderson, our music director, Kaiza Fern, and our guest musician, Karen's daughter, Neva Taylor. For those of you who may be first-time visitors this morning, welcome. Are there any visitors today who would like to introduce themselves? If anyone raises a hand, I'll bring a mic to you so you can tell us who you are and where you're from. Anybody new today would like to do that? Okay.
It's good to be here. I'm Scott Taylor. I'm the guy who over 20 years ago when I was dating over and over said in my head, car in the garage, so I didn't mess up Karen's name. I am Karen's husband. It's so good to be with you all. And this is our daughter Neva too. It's really great to be here.
Hi, Karen. I'm Bubs Baird from Vero Beach, Florida. I told you I'd find you. You all are so fortunate to have her. We miss her terribly and enjoy every moment. She's a fabulous artist, great writer, wonderful person, and we truly miss her. But I found you even for one Sunday.
Thank you. Anybody else? We know we're lucky to have her. We will not be having a time for all ages today, so please connect with Danny and Jackson. Are you here this morning? Stand up, raise your hand. If you need child care for your child this morning, see these people at the back. Before we begin, please take out your cell phones and silence them so we may all be present in worship together. A few brief announcements. Today we are having our annual Memorial Garden service to honor those who have died in the last year. All are welcome to join us after the service. It's probably will be about 15 minutes after the service is over, get some coffee. Karen can greet people, and then we will start the service right over here in the Memorial Garden. I have a few announcements from Twinks Hastings, our religious educator. Join us this afternoon at 4 p.m. right here in the sanctuary for a concert by our very own Topper Roth's band, Front Street Jazz. This is a fundraiser for the Pan Mass Challenge Writers from, yes, you want to stand up, Maureen? Maureen is part of this fabulous group. It's a fundraiser for Pan Mass Challenge Writers from First Parish Brewster who are writing in honor of member Laura Gill. All funds raised go directly to Dana-Farber and the Jimmy Fund, not to be missed. And our summer program Snow UU has had an incredibly successful first week. A big thank you to all of our volunteers. We are looking for a cleanup crew on Friday, September 1st at 3 p.m. to help clean up and return the campus to its normal state. Turns out 60 kids can make quite a mess. If you are someone who wants to help but is not keen on being with the kids especially, this is a great way to support the program. Email Twinks if you are able to help. And an announcement from Reverend Karin. We are excited to announce a wonderful opportunity for artists and builders to come together and collaborate on a brand new project aimed at inspiring creativity, imagination, and a sense of wonder in our young community members. With the generous support of a grant from the endowment, we're gearing up to create an enchanting kids space that will feature an imaginative woodland, an awe and wonder area, a maker space, and an art space book nook. We are seeking enthusiastic volunteers to help bring this visionary project to life. Led by Minister Karin and Twinks, Lifespan Religious Education Director, this endeavor promises to be a collaborative and fulfilling journey. Whether you're an artist, a builder, or simply passionate about creating an inspiring space for our young ones, we welcome you to join us. So another wonderful volunteer opportunity. If you're excited to be part of this incredible project, please reach out to Reverend Karin. Let us begin, friends, in community and fellowship.
Good morning. It's great to see you. We have a religious tradition that is hard to explain to other people, am I right? Right. So some people say that you can believe anything you want to believe, but that's not really true, right? Some people point to our principles and sources, which is a good way to start, but it's not the full breadth, really, of who we are. So it's hard, really, to get to what's underneath all of how you would describe Unitarian Universalism as a theological kind of concept and grounding. So after being in the ministry for so many years, I've come up with a way that's like an elevator speech that I'm offering you today. Okay? To help you both share the good news and ground yourself also in our tradition. We are a tradition that doesn't pay attention to what happens after this life. We care about living well in this life. We care more about creeds or deeds rather than creeds, right? We don't really care if you are agnostic, atheist, theist, Christian, Buddhist, Barnes & Nobleite, right? We care whether or not your beliefs help you listen to your deepest voice, be open to life's gifts, and serve needs greater than your own. So our way of really thinking through how that works is if your beliefs help you connect within, among, and beyond, they're in. If they don't, they're out. And the test of whether or not they're in or not is just really kind of simple. If your beliefs, are in discord with things like, racism and sexism and xenophobia and all those things, then, they're out, right? So because all of those things don't allow you to be able to connect, right, with yourself, with other people, or the needs of the world. It's that easy and that hard. Does that sound hard to you? Like sometimes you gotta wrestle with all that stuff, right? And there's my past board chair of Vero Beach, just walking in right now. screwing me up in my opening words. Thank you very much. No kidding. Anyway, I offer that to you as a means to really think through what it is that we are, right? We are here to heal spiritual disconnection within, among, and beyond. And my hope is that every time that we get together, it's a reminder of what we both believe and try to do in practice, so that together, every day, we are blessing the world rather than cursing it. It's so good to be together with all of you this morning. Welcome to our celebration of life.
Gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Would you please rise in body and spirit for our first hymn, but please, greet your neighbor before you sing our first hymn.
Sorry I'm late.
No. Oh, it's good to see you.
What are you doing here?
Good.
How are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi.
Tom O'Brien.
It's good to see you, Tom.
Thank you for being here, Karen.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Good
Good to see you.
morning.
Good morning. I know.
So we have 1 with you up there, 2, and then 3, and 4 gets the bonus of the balcony over there. We'll sing this through until I do the closing symbol, and then you can just get to the ending line and repeat it like we sometimes do. Ready? And building bridges between our divisions, building bridges between our divisions, building bridges between our divisions, building bridges between our divisions,
We believe in love.
Love is the doctrine of this church.
We believe in truth.
The quest for truth is its sacrament.
We believe in helping others.
And service is our prayer.
We believe in the sacredness of life.
To the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine.
a time in our service where we offer our goodwill offering to organizations both locally and sometimes internationally in order to help serve those whose needs are greater than our own. Today's offering goes as a split plate to the Maui Strong Fund, supporting administratively head by the Hawaii Community Foundation, is providing financial resources with a focus on rapid response and recovery for those affected by the devastating wildfires in Maui. HCF is collaborating with state and county leaders, nonprofit organizations, and community members to remain apprised of quickly evolving priorities and ensure members to remain evolving needs, including shelter, food, financial assistance. 100% of the funds will be distributed for community needs. Your offering will benefit this organization and the great work of First Parish. You can make checks out to FPBUU with a split plate on the memo line, or please see the order of service for how to be able to text a contribution as well. May we be reminded that the religious person is the grateful person is the generous person. We'll now take the offering mindfully and gratefully.
There's a light that glows by the front door. Don't forget the keys under the mat. When childhood stars shine, always stay humble and kind. Go to church 'cause your mama says to. Visit Grandpa every chance that you can. It won't be wasted time. Always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal and don't cheat and don't lie. I know you've got mountains to climb, but always stay humble and kind. When the dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel the pride, but always stay humble and kind. Don't expect a free ride from no one. Don't hold a grudge or a chip, and here's why. Bitterness keeps you from flying. Always stay humble and kind. Know the difference between sleeping with someone and sleeping with someone you love. I love you ain't no pickup line, so always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal and don't cheat and don't lie. I know you've got mountains to climb, but always stay humble and kind. When the dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel the pride, but always stay humble and kind. When it's hot, eat a root beer popsicle. Shut off the AC and roll the windows down. Let that summer sunshine. Always stay humble and kind. When you granted the love this life gives you. When you get where you're going, turn back around and help the next one in line. Always stay humble and kind.
He needs to get back. There we go. Please join me now in the spirit of meditation and reflection, followed by a shared silence. Sit back, close your eyes, and rest in the collective breath of this beloved community. Much on my mind today is the service in the Memorial Garden following this service. Every year at this time, we honor the church members and friends who have died in the past year and whose names have been inscribed on our granite memorial pillars. I am always moved by this ceremony. Also, at times, I just go into the garden on my own to look at the names on the pillars, remembering and honoring people I have known in my time here at First Parish and still miss so much. At first, 14 years ago, when I was a new member here, it felt like I couldn't join in the communal grief when a member or friend died. I didn't know them. But over the years, I've been blessed to have my life intertwined with so many of your lives, and I see it now as a privilege to mourn with all of you. It's also perhaps taught me that it need not have mattered in the beginning to have known all the people as fellow members or friends. Grief is a universal emotion that serves to connect us to the suffering and longings of the human condition. So, friends, on this day of remembering, may we seek to stand as one, whether we know those who have passed or never had our paths cross. In the end, it doesn't really matter, because inevitably death presents us with the immediacy and preciousness of our now, right here with each breath and exhale. Later today, we will grieve and heal, but now together, in the quiet sanctuary of our hearts, let us settle into the reminders that death teaches and reteaches us at each turn. We have today. Let us live it with compassion and love, with a love that knows no boundaries and encircles all who need it most. That kind of love is ours to offer. We have today. Let us open our hearts and minds to find and be spiritually connected within, among, and beyond. We have today. Try to be a little kinder and a little bolder in our acts of justice and equity. We have today. May we treat it like the precious gift it is, because indeed it is a precious, glorious gift this life is. Please join me now in shared silence. May the silence we have shared continue to hold and heal us all. Amen, and blessed be.
I'm going to start off this morning with a confession. In years past, I've enjoyed political debate with those on the other side of the aisle. I have an aunt and uncle in Wisconsin who have been my sparring partners for years and years. We've had great kind of political debates around things like the economy and immigration and taxation, things like that. And over the years, at times, it has gotten heated, but it's been respectful. And then other times, like I have this uncle who just like tries to get my goat, and then I finally realized that's what you're doing right now, right? Anyway, it has always been the place where I could have a good conversation and try to understand somebody else's opinion on something in ways that I really couldn't do sometimes with other people. And every now and then, I could see a turning in them to my way of thinking or a softening a little bit. For years, my exchange with them was that foray into political discourse that helped me understand the other side. That is until about the last 9 or 10 years. And I've noticed that that conversation has changed with them, of course, but then also with other friends I have that are conservative. And it's become more partisan, non-compromising, and anger-filled, which in turn makes me not want to engage as much or as often. I especially found this during the Trump years, and I thought it would actually get better during the Biden years, and I have found not so much. If I turn to the larger political milieu, it's even worse. It feels vitriolic. On social media, bumper stickers, media outlets, opinion pieces, political speeches, the venom just spews every which way, and pretty much everywhere that you look. It seems that the discussion or debate isn't about the policies for the betterment of the country, but an argument about who really belongs in the country, whose beliefs prove that they are the real Americans. Again, it's shifted from an argument about betterment to an argument about belonging. I want you to consider for a moment the Trump's mugshot, right? Just a few days ago in Georgia, after his indictment. So Trump supporting conservatives look at it and see actually a heroic and defiant avenger who will bring down destruction on their enemies. Liberals and progressives, on the other hand, look at that same picture and see a deranged leader who will be the cause of our country's destruction. Either way, it's all about fighting like a source of destruction, not differing over policies and ideas. Either way, it's about which side you belong to, not whose policies will make us better. This is just one recent example, of course, but at least for me, over and over again, all of this feels more and more isolating, and as it gets more contentious, the more I find myself questioning if the other side has a moral center, if there are good people anymore, anyone on the other side of the aisle. And maybe most importantly, having so many on the far right say that my politics and my belief don't belong here as an American, I'm more and more finding myself feeling they don't belong here as an American. Turns out I'm not the only one. Thank goodness. Here it was. Yes! Actually, there was a recent survey by the Pew Research Group that shows that the degree to which we feel that the other side is not just wrong or that we dislike them, but now we strongly dislike them, and we think those with opposite opinions of our own are a real and serious threat to this nation. The number of people who feel this way, so much so that 50% of people on both sides of the aisle feel like the other side are a threat to the overall well-being of the other. Thus, it's no longer about policies, but about who really belongs, who is the true American. And here's where I get worried. Because like I said, I can feel like myself being pulled into this way of thinking, this way of defining and explaining the differences between them and me. And I gotta say, it's beginning to scare me. I wanna explain something. Donald Trump, as some of you may or may not know, is a germaphobe. And he often uses the word, and has in the past, and uses it now, the word disgust, over and over again. But over the last number of years, that language has been expounded upon, on and on. And friends, there is, let's be honest, a difference between being angry at someone and disgusted with them, right? If I am angry at someone I love, we can work through something, get back to be in right relationship with them again, and move on. If I am disgusted by someone, it's almost impossible to get back to that place again. In fact, John Gottman, who did all this research with marriage couples, he observed at one point that when he was doing these videotapes with couples that were talking to each other, if one of them saw contempt in the other one, like disgust for the other one, it was the factor that determined whether or not they would stay married or not. And to a T, all of them got divorced. So yeah, disgust in the language that has been expounded upon around this is very problematic and destructive. Our current political climate is a battle between good and evil. And those on the other side are satanic, revolting, not of our tribe. And in turn, we shun and dehumanize and shame and embarrass and hurt and make people subhuman. More and more, from both sides of the aisle, we are dehumanizing one another. Now, I'm not saying that I've worked my way into this language myself, but I know I'm worried about getting there. As a progressive, I am having a hard time finding my way to understanding people as good people anymore if they are on the other side of my political views. I'm finding myself wanting to fight back and put them in their place and call them evil. And here's what I'm trying to get at, and to take a step back and get a different perspective. Because though I feel like this is happening to some people in their language and definition on the other side, I know I can't really let myself get there, because it will destroy me. and destroy my view of half of the population of this country, and frankly, I will have, as I explained in opening words, have completely given up on the central defining factor of this religious tradition of seeking to heal spiritual disconnection within, among, and beyond. Because when you make someone the devil, or evil, or subhuman, that is a huge barrier to ever connecting again. So this danger that I know is presented in front of me, in front of many of us, it terrifies me. This state of being terrified, though, actually got me motivated to try and figure out, okay, how do you address this, right? It really scares me that I'm like this close to using that language. So I went searching for a variety of different sources, and the first one that I found myself turning to is moral psychology. I've been thinking a lot about what it means to be a good human, right? A good person. Someone with values that guide your living and loving. And it can't just be rationally that all the people, I mean, really, it can't be this, right? It can't be that all the people who aren't progressive or liberal lack a set of values. You guys are all looking at me like, well, it might be so. Okay, but hang with me here, okay? So it's not like value and worth just go away completely if a person is part of a whole different political party. So why is it that it feels that way to me? Why am I finding them dispensable? And here's where moral psychology has helped me understand myself and conservatives better. And forgive me, but I am going to way oversimplify this in order to explain it, okay? So it turns out that those who identify as liberal and progressive, those who are conservative, indeed, we hold values dear to us. It's just that the values each group honors are different in number and in type. This work, by the way, comes from a lot of sociologists who work in this area, but in particular, I'm talking about the work of Jonathan Haidt, who's a social psychologist. So again, I'm simplifying this, but liberals tend to hold three values very close to them. Three: care, fairness, and liberty. Now, if you're a conservative, you hold those three as well: care, fairness, and liberty. But you have another three over here that are weighted equally to those. And that is loyalty, authority, and sanctity, as equally important, right? So loyalty, authority, and sanctity, as Jonathan Haidt points out, liberals don't really know what to do with those values and tend to push them away or ignore them. And it gets even more complicated because while liberals and conservatives, yes, hold those three values, right? Care, fairness, and liberty, hold the same ones. We look at them differently, very differently, which is surprising but true, okay? So let's take something like fairness. Fairness is interpreted for a liberal or a progressive as equality. For a conservative, it's proportional fairness. There's a big difference, right? Best way I know how to explain this is to tell you how my husband dealt with his second helping of pie when he was growing up, okay? Here you go. In his family, when he'd have a piece of pie and he'd go talk to his mom and say, "Hey, Mom, can I have another piece of pie?" She would say to him, "Well, Scott, does everybody have a piece of pie already? And if they do, if they have a first helping, you can have a second." So in his household of origin, right, like any liberal or progressive, fairness was lifted up, but with an emphasis on everyone getting their share first. Does that sound right to you guys? Okay. However, at his grandparents' house, if he was at his grandparents' house, Scott's like, yep, this happened all the time. Okay, and if you know him, he's always asking for a second piece of pie. He just is. Okay, so anyway, he'd have his first piece of pie at his grandfather's house, and then he would ask his grandpa for another piece of pie, and his grandpa would say to him, well, Scott, did you earn it? Why should you get a second piece? And Scott would have to say, well, I just helped, Grandma with the dishes, or I will be sure to clear the table after I have the second piece and help out. So his grandfather, like other conservatives, fairness gets defined as merit, as whether you deserve and earn something or not. Have you contributed to the greater whole? Those are huge differences, right? Same concept, same value. This was a great distinction for me because both sides held that same view, and they were just interpreting them in a different manner. And here's the catch. Neither side is really truly aware of the difference. It operates often on an unconscious level, causing both sides not simply to disagree, but to literally not understand the other one. Both sides have morals and values, just different ones. But because neither side realizes what's going on, the other group just tends to look at the other one and feel the other side doesn't have any values or morals. Is this hitting a chord in anyone? So, okay, that helped me work my way back to, okay, they have morals and values. I'm wrong in thinking that. Check, I got that one. So it was a good reframe for me. Something else that happened, though, and got me unstuck was I kept looking at the other side as being not rational or humane in discourse and incapable of thinking through all the angles to an issue. Except here's where it helped to get a good dose of humility. You gotta love it when that happens to you. So one of moral psychology's principles is this idea of confirmation bias. Again, Jonathan Haidt is so good at this, and he explains it. He writes this: there's some really interesting work on how our higher intelligence and our verbal abilities might have evolved not to help us find out the truth, but to help us manipulate each other and defend our reputation. We're really, really good at justifying ourselves. And when you bring group interest into account, so it's not just me, but it's my team versus your team, the stakes get even higher. Because if you are evaluating evidence that your side is wrong, it turns out we have a very hard time accepting that. This is why it's hard to win a political argument with someone, because reason and evidence don't work. Then you add in things like the internet and Google, right? And confirmation bias, and you do something like this. Hey, I heard, by the way, that Obama was born in Kenya. Let me Google that. Oh my God, there's 10 million hits. It must be true. So, what happened, right? You already had a bias to something that supports your opinion, and then you unconsciously go out looking for evidence to support that. It's just as Haidt said, that's the way our brains work. So I read that and I'm like, oh my God, I freaking hate this. Ugh. Because it makes me realize that we all do this all the time. I'm not really looking for reasons to question my own viewpoint. I'm constantly looking for reasons to confirm my point of view. I like to think that that only happens to others. And thus spin circles around themselves defending what I see as a flawed viewpoint or policy, and yet I do it too. In truth, all of us do it. To complicate matters, if you add things like social media, well, frankly, we are a little doomed. We just are. To not take into account that the algorithms, in particular on something like Instagram, Facebook, those algorithms on social media are set up just to support your own viewpoint without bringing in other points of view. Really, for us to think that they're not set up that way is a little naive. So what happens to all of us is we keep getting fed information that we take in, we get ticked off about it, and we mindlessly get worked up and spit out venom at the other side, and easily share information that may not be true or accurate, and sometimes is harmful. But because our confirmation bias to the information is already set, we don't think twice about it. Addressing this reminded me, I think, that part of the problem, I am kind of part of the problem as well as the next guy, and I have taken a considerable hiatus from Facebook for this very reason, that I want to be sure that if I am responding to anything, I really have done my homework before I share anything, and I need to make sure that I am checking my confirmation bias. So, moral psychology has been my friend this week, as has this other thing, okay? One of my favorite children's sermons is this. So I have kids gather around, and I have a tube of toothpaste, and I'm like, hey, look at this. Who would let you do this, right? Like, who wants to help me spill out all of this toothpaste? And all the kids are like, yeah, I want to do that. Nobody lets me do that at home. So they come up and they do this, right? They're like, oh, man, that's so good. I love it, I love it, I love it. Right? And they get all that toothpaste out. They're super proud of themselves. They're like, look at that. And then I say to them, who wants to help me put it back? And of course, I get some you kid who's always like, well, you don't have enough of a vacuum in there, you know? Anyway, so we try to get it back, right? So you're like, some kid's always coming up and like trying to pull it back in, but we all agree it's almost impossible to do. And I say to them, that toothpaste is like your words. Once you get it out, it's almost impossible to take back again. And your words can harm people and hurt people and shut them off and disconnect you from them all the time. So be careful what it is that you say with your words, in body and in spirit, and in that energy that you want to lay out in front of the world. I use it actually as a good way to explain that Buddhist practice of right speech. Because the words are powerful. They're inclusive sometimes, or they're divisive. And part of the work, actually, of a religious person is to communicate with others in a way that leads you back to spiritual connection, not spiritual discord. And while it's almost impossible to do that when you're spewing toothpaste all over the place. So this week, I am reminded of that. And also, I got to tell you that somewhere when I was looking at all of the stuff, your congregational record online, somewhere it said in there that you guys try to do that Buddhist concept when you are in meetings. I don't know if this is true, but it's now going to become true, okay? When we are in meetings with one another, we think through what we're going to say. Is it useful, kind, and true? If it is all three things, then you say it. If it's not, you don't say it. And I loved that about you guys. So those were my reminders. All wonderful reminders. And I know that as an adult, the more that you say, believe, or act on something, you actually build neural pathways in your brain, right, that are hard to reshape or reform or reframe. So not using language of disgust or dehumanizing language. It's also a practice of behavior that set us on a different path that make it impossible then to see others as disgusting or dangerous or evil. Right speech and toothpaste are just those worthwhile practices. So where does all of this lead us today? What am I going to do with all of this reframing, and why am I inviting us to engage with this as well? I want to be absolutely clear. I'm not suggesting at all that we should not argue with and vigorously oppose those we politically disagree with. In fact, I want us to argue, or to be more specific, I want us to get back to that place where we are arguing. Because it seems to me that we as a country haven't been arguing for years now. Instead, we've moved into or are on the cusp of simply wanting to destroy each other. And I'm not saying I want politics in America to go to like some kumbaya kind of moment. I want debate back, not which side is the worst devil. And I think these cautions about noticing when we are doing confirmation bias and recognizing that the other side has different values than us rather than an absence of values will not just get us back to a better place, but will open up a space that feels less combustible. And here's the truth. I mostly want us to notice that if we become people who want to destroy, we actually end up destroying ourselves in the process. We don't want to become those kinds of people. I don't want to become that kind of person. I don't want us to become that kind of people. So let's get back to it. Not destroying or trying to kick out the other, but ultimately, let's practice those things that move us forward as a country. Healthy debate over how we become the best that we can be together. That's what it means to be an engaged, moral, and valued American. May that be our charge and our calling. Amen.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit. We have a closing song called Look for the Good. And we have Kaylee here for one more service until going off. But we're gonna, I invite you to rise. And in your order of service are written some words which are the chorus part of this song. And we'll sing it for you now. And it goes like this. Look for the good in everything. Look for the people that will set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good. Look for the good. Look for the good in everyone. So let's try that out. Here we go.
For the good in everything. Look for the people who will set your soul free. It seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good. Look for the good. Look for the good in everyone.
And I'm just going to help you with one line. Let me just sing this third line again. It always seems impossible until it's done. Let's try it. It always
seems impossible until it's done.
There you go. And look for the
good. Look for the good. Look for the good in everyone.
People done gone crazy. People done gone mad. People done gone forgotten superpowers we all have. We were born to love, not hate. get what I came here to do. Keep on trying. When it gets frightening, look for the good in everything. Look for the people that will set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good. Look for the good. Look for the good in everyone. Everyone is nature. Everyone is God. Everyone is love and light and vibration. Look for the good. Look for the good. Everyone gets mad sometimes, and maybe they should. Look for the good. Look for the good. Yeah, look out for all the neighbors, the heroes in your neighborhood. Look for the good. Look for the good. Life would sure be sweeter if everybody would. Look for the good in everything. Look for the people who would set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good. Look for the good. Look for the good in everyone. Look for the good. Look for the good. Look for the good in everyone.
Would you please join hands for the closing words? Whatever we can do or dream we can do, let us begin it. Boldness has genius and power and magic in it. May we ever be bold in our living and in our loving. Amen.
Amen.